that were pretty extensive with the, with the package. It would be like, this is, Pete Best playing on blah, 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 blah,
you think he made any money off of that movie that we were talking about, the Backbeat?
Well, he probably he would have gotten paid as an employee, right? Otherwise there was nothing, there's nothing to pay him for the Backbeat thing, unless he worked on the movie. And that's why I'm thinking he worked on the movie.
Oh, it's like right.
It took a long time for him to become rich, but I think that, at a certain point in his life, he started making a living off of being Pete Best too, in just like in a very Eighth and Morales kind of way.
Is he showing up
economizing? Economizing.
I'm sure he signed thousands, if not tens of thousands of autographs at $20 a pop.
You got it. I'm going to the Beatle Fest. I'm going to sign books. I'm going to, like he had his hands in this and that. I got a record coming out, with the Pete Best All-Star Band, whatever.
Mm-hmm. What? And my favorite is that it's like that was one of the way they had Brian Epstein telling me he was out. The Beatles always say, yeah, we felt we handled that wrong. That was what, and then they always ask Ringo. It's like, I had nothing to do with it. I don't feel bad.
I never felt. They were like, how do you feel? I mean, you were the guy that replaced Pete Best, and he's like, what? I didn't feel anything for him. I was the best drummer in Liverpool. Of course, the best band would want the best drummer.
Yeah.
So, and the guys didn't want him anymore. So it was nothing, like there was nothing between he and I. I took the gig.
When do you think that Pete Best starts capitalizing on this? Like, not in the 60s or 70s, right? It's like in the 90s, you think?
The 60s, he almost goes into hiding, right?
Right. He becomes a baker, right? And stuff like that. He's like, he's got some sort of bakery job, but I think it's like some sort of unionized bakery kind of thing. And
but when does the Pete Best combo come around? Like, the Liars.
That's not until later.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
But
like
is it late 60s or
no? Pete Best combo doesn't get together until after the anthology stuff
in the 90s,
if I'm not mistaken, John.
No, my favorite there is he put out an album called Best of the Beatles.
Nice.
Right.
And people bought it and were pissed off because there was no Beatles on it. But you get it. Get the pun.
Yeah. We got it, John.
Yeah. It's like, hey, who's playing tonight? Free beer.
But yeah, let's go check that out.
Chris, people couldn't see me winking, so I just wanted to make sure they got it.
Okay.
The magic of radio.
Yeah, but I think he's like, he's kind of, he's Pete Rose, so I think it's not, I'm not saying he was getting rich doing it, but any kind of like you could sell yourself being Pete Best to it might be open up a supermarket, but in Liverpool, but like maybe he got paid for that kind of nonsense.
Because he showed up on, I'm trying to think, it's like, he showed up on Letterman. He also had no personality.
He was self-deprecating to a fault, right? Like just, like
Eeyore,
Right. Occasionally, he'd get a little, you could get a chuckle in there, but he was he's pretty stiff and stuff like that. But it's true, Tony, like prior to the release of the anthology stuff, every once in a while, someone would drag him up onto a stage, like, the man who, the fifth Beatle, and he would show up on Merv Griffin or, which I never saw him on Merv Griffin, but like
Mike Douglas.
Yeah.
Who knows what he was like in Britain.
I would be pissed off being the fifth Beatle because he was the fourth Beatle. Ringo's the fifth Beatle.
Yeah, well, right. There you go.
And Murray the Kid is definitely at least six.
I got Facebook websites for you to, or whatever pages for you to go to. You can go argue with all the Jews about that stuff.
Meta.
He's like the 14th Beatle.
Yeah.
Glenn Geary, like they're naming every drummer that the Beatles ever played with. I'll tell you what, he's like,
in reference to.
Are you guys including Jimmy Nicol? No, I'm yes.
In reference to Ringo, they're saying that he would be the 10th or 12th Beatle, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, but it's just Beatle geeky stuff, like people arguing nonsense, on chat lines.
Not like the serious discussion show like we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
The professional show that we produce.
They're still arguing of whether or not Let It Be is an actual Beatles record.
Yeah, we already dispelled that.
Compilation. We absolutely.
But that laid that to us.
Remember telling you guys that, like, that Klaus Vormann thing when Ringo comes in and play, like Paul is playing the drums, and you're like, oh man, this is just not like it just sounds like it sounds like me. It sounds like any like any kind of guy like that's been around drums, and you're like, yeah, he can hold a beat. Like going over there. And then Ringo comes in and it's just like, that's why he used the drummer. It's just, he's like brings a whole different swing to it. And then you're just like, thanks for that. He's great.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And so, yeah, like Pete gets dumped in a meeting in Brian's office and stuff like that. And none of the Beatles show up to it. And like
and then he plays a couple shows with them.
And so Neil Aspinall, like, pretty much goes to Pete, like, I think he never played a show with him, John. It never happened.
That's not true. I thought he was
no way.
Like, these are last shows.
He was supposed to, but he never played another gig with him. No way. He did not show up. He went and got drunk with Pete or with Neil.
No.
Yeah. And so Neil was like, I'm quitting. Like, I'm done with this. Like, these guys are like, I can't believe they did it to you. And he's like, no, man, you gotta, like, you need the job, and you need to go stay with it, and of course he does.
Good idea.
So you're
real good.
Does
idea.
he become like their,
the head of Apple?
Oh,
up until like 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a trusted, like an extremely trusted insider. And I think that the Beatles never had to remind him of his place, because he already knew what his place was, and never seemingly, I don't have any stories, John, where you hear about Neil Aspinall getting uppity about something, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, like it just,
he's like one of them. Yeah.
He just is like, you know what? Like you're the Beatles. I'm not. And I already get that. So, but I'm not going to, but, fuck you anyway, because I know you guys from shitting in the same bucket with you, in the van. So, like, they just, they trusted each other right up to the, like you said, like he becomes the head of Apple and stuff like that. He made it through Alan Klein.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's a feat. That's a,
And so
there's a feat.
Well, there's a Brian Epstein movie coming out soon, right? It's in the works. You guys catch any of that?
I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Who's playing Brian Epstein?
One of these young, these young Hollywood.
Mike Myers.
No. I'm just guessing here, but I think it's going to be more of one of these 25-year-old, I can't even think of the name of these guys anymore, but who's like the hot star now. But it's a guy like that, right? It's like someone from that group. The same way there's like, a whole new slew of Marvel movies coming out with new actors. It's going to be like somebody like that.
Yeah.
They take it right up to 1967 too. I would imagine, right?
Oh yeah, they got to do the whole. If I'm really disappointed if they're not stoned.
Yeah, I mean, if true biopics, going to have to go all the way up to this.
Someone did that the other day. I think when Colin Powell died or something like that. There was like,
I'm sure there was a lot of that.
And they asked, it was like they asked Joe Biden how he took it. He's like, well, I was shocked and stunned. I was like, come on. And I just started cracking up.
He's listening to the podcast.
You're just reading it in print, and you're just like, and I was just like, oh man,
he's been listening to the podcast.
So I cheated and looked, and so Brian Epstein fires Pete and says there are a couple shows though before Ringo joins on Saturday, and Pete says, oh okay, but then doesn't do them. Yeah,
you got it.
Sure, I'll be there.
Yeah, right now, because he was just shocked and stunned.
He was shocked and stunned himself, right, without a doubt. But the other part is, like, I think that when they go to Butlin's, like, I think they go to Butlin's to talk to him. Like, they drive out there and like, and they're like, Ringo, we we want you in the band and all this kind of nonsense. And Ringo's just like, I can't leave Rory in the lurch. It's Friday night. I mean, this is the busiest part of the weekend and da-da-da-da. And he was just like, I could be there on Monday. It's like, so it was like, he was like,
he's got to get in his last.
Right. I'll ditch these jobs, but but I'm going to get in, I'm going to hang here for the weekend. Right. That's when all the chicks are coming in too.
Exactly. Yeah. Ringo time. Star time. It's star time.
It is star time.
Nice.
Ringo. Have you ever, like, when you watch the Hard Day's Night movie and they're all in the discotheque and they're all kind of shimmying and stuff like that, George is game. You know what I mean? He's kind of goofy and he's stiff and this and that, but he's game. Like, he's going for it. Ringo is smooth.
Yeah.
Like, he is just
he's a
totally
player
out on the dance floor, like cutting the rug, and you're just like, Ringo is Sammy Davis Jr. And Paul doesn't even try. Like, he's like, they show him like sitting on a couch the whole time. Like, he never gets out. Like, I don't know that I've seen him dance. Like,
Paul is definitely the worst actor in the Beatles for sure.
Well,
luckily his talents lay elsewhere, and he stuck with that.
Well, yeah, he's throughout that's the other thing, is throughout all of the books, it's like Paul was always Mr. Please, to pay attention to me, Moon Eyes, let me sing, let's sing a ballad for the girls. Yeah.
The guy also never took a bad picture. You know what I mean? Like, any of those pictures of the Beatles when they're young and stuff like that. There's some photos where George looks a little awkward and and this and that, but like, I don't know that Paul McCartney ever took a bad picture, and it, like, the camera loves him, and yet like he just couldn't handle the lines, like, without acting.
Well, it's funny because in the there's that Stones movie, Charlie Is My Darling, where it's essentially a mini documentary kind of thing of their like 1965 Irish tour or something like that. And it's the reason Andrew Llewellyn calls it Charlie Is My Darling, because, after filming them for the weekend, it's just sort of like, my star is Charlie Watts. Like, I have these guys, right? It's like, he's my
low-key guy in the back.
And he comes off great in the movie. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, movies, being on stage versus, being in a movie, like, the subtlety of those guys
plays better. Yeah.
Just sort of, it plays much better.
Right,
yeah.
Right. All right. You guys want to wrap things up, or you got anything else?
I think we should. We got some, this is the Thanksgiving show, right? So
I was like, I was saying we should be doing a Halloween show, and you're right. It'll come out and can't give it away.
I mean, that's the thing. The fact people are going to be so surprised in 2021 when they find out what year these were actually recorded. Yeah,
and then it's not live to tape. What?
Yeah.
Well, people will be listening them through
soon after the Beatles breakup. I mean, it's
right. You'll be listening to it during the holidays when you have some time off. The holidays coming up, people will be listening to these. This
is the first year, by the way, fellas, that my kids forsaken Halloween costumes and trick or treating. That they are both.
I don't know a lot of kids who are doing the trick or treat thing. Like my son's not into
Yeah,
this
my
year,
son's,
but he's
my
he's
daughter's
12,
doing it with her
but-
friends.
No, that's good. Yeah, I
We're
mean,
doing pumpkins.
you know, my niece in college is doing it, but I think college Halloween thing. I think it's great. You get if you're out.